Jed Drenning, Sideline Reporter. West Virginia covers the Mountaineers like a blanket and does it very, very well. Joins us on 365 Sports. Jed, the Backyard Brawl, what does this, you've been a part of it, can you kind of describe the rivalry?
Well, first, Smokey, I got to say thank you. You guys at 365 Sports for keeping me updated on all this Big 12 expansion craziness throughout the course of the summer. So you've been a big resource for that. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. But the Backyard Brawl, to us, we do view it as one of the best rivalries, maybe not just in college sports, but in all of sports. We think it extends beyond a regional flavor. It means a lot to the fans of West Virginia. It means a lot to all 6 Pitt fans. So we're very eager to get them back down here in Morgantown for the first time since 2011.
Did you say all 6 Pitt fans?
I did.
Yeah, I love the sauce that you threw on that, Jed. This, the game last year was really good and really down to the wire and intense. Do you expect that again between these two teams? Because a lot's been made of where they are, and West Virginia's got this really tough schedule to open up the year, maybe tougher than anyone in the country. But based on last year to this year, are these similar teams?
We've changed in different ways. I hope it's not like last year. I mean, it was a fun game for outsiders, but I'd like it to be decided before the end. I mean, we left it too much to chance, and Pitt made a play that we failed to make, and obviously found a way to win that football game, and it was a tough battle. But we're different. Pitt's different when I look at them structurally. But when you look at the things that they lost, I trust in their player development, and I trust in their coaching to compensate for those things. And they've tweaked some of what they're trying to do offensively. And when you look at us, I think we're a little different offensively in the sense that just starting at the quarterback position, there's a different element there in terms of actually playing 11-on-11 football where, in recent years, with JT and on back to Jared, it was more of a traditional air raid type attack with Neal. But now with the skill set of Garrett Green, or even Garrett Green and Nico, both kids in that room, it puts us in position to try and attack some different ways offensively. But you're going to have your challenges against these guys. There's no way to get around that. A lot of people are, I think, reading too much into the struggles they had last week from a pass protection standpoint against Cincinnati. I mean, you guys know, probably already been in the league and not facing them yet. You've studied Cincinnati enough to know they're nasty at the point of attack. I mean, that defensive line is no joke. So that's a tall task for anybody. So I'm not going to read too much into that. And I think Pitt will probably do a good job addressing some of the shortcomings they had in trying to protect Phil Jerkovich last week. So we're going to have our hands full.
Jed, there was a lot of talk all offseason about that quarterback battle. You mentioned both Nico and Garrett Green obviously got the nod. Last week, big, time passing effort as far as the 4 touchdowns go. And, Penn State the week prior, it's a pretty significant start to the year. So what have you seen through these couple of games from Garrett Green's perspective, and what kind of growth have you seen from that spot?
Well, the two things he could always do, he always had the arm and the timing to throw the deep ball. He always had the explosiveness and the electricity and the twitch to be a difference maker with his legs, but he wasn't really the superintendent of the offense. And I think over the course of the offseason, that piece started to come into place as things started to slow down for him. And some of the production you saw, not just in the spring or even in the summer, but even into camp, some of the consistency that he started to develop in the throw game was really what he was lacking. Now he's working on becoming that guy that can kind of direct traffic, put folks in the right spot, get us in the best play, get us in the best protection. In other words, see it more globally, and I think that's what he's working towards. And then once he gets there, now you can just focus on the things that he's very good at. And what he's good at makes him a potentially very dynamic player. I mean, he's one of the faster kids on the offense. He's truly explosive. He truly has a heck of an arm, and his accuracy, I think, is underrated. So I think there's some exciting things that Garrett brings to the table.
Jed, is he one of those that's easy to get around or like follow because of his style and what looks like kind of I don't know about tough guy, but just somebody that plays with a reckless abandon?
Yeah, there's a grit to him. You remember Skylar Howard at West Virginia. Well, there was a grit to Skylar. I mean, I think Garrett is a very high energy kid. So that does resonate with the locker room. I mean, those kids are picking up what he's putting down. And there's a certain electricity to him. Now, sometimes you get so amped up, you have to calm him down to start a game. Right? He's one of those kids. But yeah, he's an easy kid to get behind. He's an easy kid to cheer for. He's very deferential to his teammates. So, I mean, he's a guy that's been a leader for the better part of his athletic life. And I think now's his time, and it's starting to show in that locker room.
How far would this win go to relieving a little bit of the tension that exists around the program?
I think there's going to be tension. When you have the level of parity in the Big 12 that you have, you're never going to be able to rest easy or certainly rest on your laurels. You're only going to be good as your last game. And in this case, the next game is a critical non-conference game before we get into league play. So it could serve as a potential springboard, a massive win against our biggest rival to launch us into the league play. Looking forward next week to a Texas Tech team that we haven't beat since Moby Dick was a guppy. So I think it will be a very meaningful game, a very meaningful win. First of all, last year was the first time the game had been played since 2011. So Pitt won the game, so we still haven't won this game since 2011. The last time it was in Morgantown. So it's critical for a whole host of reasons. I mean, it's one of those deals where hotel rooms in Morgantown are going for $600 or $700. They've been talking about this for 18 months. So there is going to be an incredible atmosphere, an incredible electricity. It's going to be an incredible environment. And you want to satisfy those fans to have wanting more the following week.
So, I think when you see a big performance, especially early in the year, you acknowledge it, but you also look at like who it was against. But, I mean, my gosh, Hudson Clement against Duquesne had a monster day. I mean, 3 touchdowns, 177 yards. What can you tell us about him? And is this something that you expect him to remain a contributor and have performances, not like that necessarily, but to be a big factor moving forward?
I tell you what, if he has performances like that, we're going to win a whole lot of football games, right? But he's turned already into somewhat of a folk legend in West Virginia. I mean, you're talking about a kid that he's a Martinsburg, West Virginia high school product, a former Martinsburg Bulldog. And that program is very meaningful in the state. It's one of the better large class programs in West Virginia. And Hudson's a kid who in a state championship game actually accounted for 8 touchdowns. So he's a name that West Virginia gridiron fans recognize. So to have him develop the way he has, it's been a great story. I mean, first of all, he showed up at 170 pounds as a freshman. Now he's pushing 200. So Mike Joseph and the weight staff have done a great job with him. He's now developed into one of the faster kids on the team, probably one of the 5 fastest kids on the team, maybe our 2nd fastest wideout. So what you see is what you get. I mean, that wasn't an aberration. And he found out right before kickoff that he was actually going to get the start. Devin Carter was nicked up later in the week in practice. He didn't appear to be full speed during pregame. So Neal said, hey, I'm not risking it. I'm going to keep you on the shelf, and I'm going to start Hudson. And that's how he found out. So not only did he get his first college start, but he got his first college start in this crazy environment where then, a quarter and a half later, you're sitting out nearly 2 hours of a lightning delay. So he had to manage that. So it was a lot to ask of him. And to deliver the way that he did, and he really served as a critical spark for us coming out of that delay. So great story. And then, of course, he was awarded a scholarship literally in the locker room in front of the team when we came off the field. And it was one of the loudest roars I've ever heard in that locker room. So what a great moment. What a great memory. Now I do see him being part, because the coaches have talked about him since the spring. It's just been a function of he had to become more consistent. I do see him being a part of this rotation. He can play either outside receiver, either the X or the Z, so that gives him more chances to get on the field as well. So, yeah, he's going to be a part of what we do moving forward.
Jed, you mentioned Cincinnati and what they did to Pittsburgh. And, obviously Texas has the huge win in Tuscaloosa. What are your overall – have you had a chance to kind of just grasp what else is going on within the Big 12, or right now just focused in on the early part of the year for West Virginia?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to keep a picture, a view of it globally, Smoak. Yeah, to me, first of all, to go into Tuscaloosa and do what Texas did, it's difficult to say, but I got to give credit where credit's due. Now, is this truly something where Texas is trending toward, I'll use the B word here, being back? Or are they going to show up against Wyoming and do what Texas teams the last 10 years would do? And that's not play well, have a hangover after a big win, have an emotional letdown. I mean, we're going to see. But can they maintain this level of play against lesser competition until they get back to some tougher games? But you have to be impressed by what they did marching into Alabama and doing that. But even when you look around the rest of the league, you're still keeping your eye on all the newcomers. UCF, so far so good, right, unscathed. Their run game looks pretty good. Looks like a handful there. Kansas continues to trend in the right direction. I mean, I think you can't say enough about – I think that Illinois defense is really nasty. And to carve it up the way that they did, and K-State looks like they haven't missed a beat. So, I mean, when you look at across some of the brands, it's really interesting. I think there's a lot of plot lines and a lot of things to follow, but there's some really, really good football being played in this league right now.
Thank you, Jed. We appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Jed Drenning, West Virginia football sideline reporter, but also so entrenched in covering the Mountaineers. We appreciate his time. Around the corner,